So in this video, we are going to discuss the anterior cranial fossa, its boundaries, its floor and other features. First of all, I will bring this diagram in front of you all. This is the region that we are going to study. So it has this region, the anterior border, similarly the posterior border, etc. that we are going to discuss. Firstly, we will discuss the anterior border. So on the anterior border, we will have the frontal bone and the frontal crest. So this green region is the frontal bone and this in the middle is the frontal crest. Posteriorly, we have the free posterior border of lesser wing of sphenoid, then sulcus chiasmaticus and anterior clinoid process. So on both the sides, on lateral view, we have the posterior or part of the lesser wing of sphenoid. In the midline, we have the sulcus chiasmaticus. And where the sulcus chiasmaticus and the lesser wing of the sphenoid is meeting, this meeting point is forming a hook-like area. This is known as the anterior clinoid process. So the boundaries have been done, the frontal bone and the frontal crest, and posteriorly lesser wing of sphenoid, the sulcus chiasmaticus and the anterior clinoid process. So first of all, you can see over here, this is the frontal bone and this region over here is the frontal crest. Then in the posterior side, you can see this is the lesser wing of the sphenoid. This region is the lesser wing of the sphenoid. Then this region over here, this is the sulcus chiasmaticus. And where the sulcus chiasmaticus and the lesser wing of sphenoid are meeting, they are forming this region which is known as the anterior clinoid process. So these are the boundaries. Now we will study about the floor. For the floor, we have median plane. Let me correct my... So we have the median plane in which we will have the cribriform plate of ethmoid bone, the crista galli and jugum sphenoidale. On each side, we will have orbital plane of the orbital bone and lesser wing of sphenoid. Let me tell you. So on the midline, we have these two regions which are actually, we have this big prominence which is actually the crista galli just behind the frontal crest. Then on both sides, we have this cribriform plate. You can see it has a large amount of holes in it. This is the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. On both the sides, we have the superior orbital fissures. And then we have this region which is the jugum sphenoidale, just anterior to the sulcus chiasmaticus. We have this region that is known as jugum sphenoidale. And these are the orbital fissures on both the sides. Now we can also see laterally just behind the orbital fissures, we have this lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. Here we have the ethmoid bone and the cribriform plate. The upward elevation is the crista galli in the midline, and in the midline we also have this jugum sphenoidale. On the lateral side both, we have the superior orbital fissures, and posteriorly we have the lesser wing of the sphenoid, which is meeting in the median plane with the sulcus chiasmaticus to form the anterior clinoid process. So over here you can see this green portion. This is the cribriform plate. It is having a lot of perforations, and these perforations are for the olfactory nerves. Then above this we have the crista galli that I showed you, and it was very prominent, and the crista galli is having the frontal crest anteriorly. So this is the midline area. Also just anterior to the crista galli we have this region which is the foramen cecum. I will show you this slit on the skull. So if you look at this region of the crista galli and this frontal crest, you can see this foramen over here. This is the foramen cecum, just anterior to the crista galli. Now also they are saying that this foramen cecum is blind foramen, but it is occasionally patent, and if it is patent, it is having the emissary vein passing through it. Now both the frontal crest and the crista galli, combine together and they are going to provide an attachment to the false cerebri, which is a part of the dura mater extension or fold, which runs from the anterior this region to the posterior region or in the posterior cranial fossa, and divides your cerebral hemispheres into two parts. That fold of the dura mater, it has its anterior attachment to the frontal crest and the crista galli. So yes, you can see over here that this region, the frontal crest and this crista galli, both of them are going to give attachment to that fold of the dura mater, which is known as the false cerebri, which is going to divide your both hemispheres into equal parts. So it's gonna be in the middle, something like this. Now, since I made these notes from the BT book, then we are going to discuss features related to each and everything. Now, the cribriform plate that was in the middle, now we are going to discuss its anterior, posterior and lateral relations. The anterior relations, they show the frontoethmoidal suture, which has the foramen cecum in the middle plane, which sometimes transmits the emissary vein. Then on the posterior side, we have the jugum sphenoidale and the posterior ethmoidal canal. Similarly, on the lateral side, we have the orbital plate of the frontal bone. I will explain all of that to you in a skull in a minute. Orbital part of the frontal bone, and the suture between them has the anterior ethmoidal canal. So we have two canals, anterior and posterior ethmoidal canals, then their limits, which are part of the cribriform plate. Now if you look at over here, that you can see this is the cribriform plate on both the sides of the crista galli. Now this region, that is a notch over here, it is having a connection between the ethmoid bone and this frontal bone. So it is a frontoethmoidal suture. On the posterior side, this region in the middle, I told you this was known as jugum sphenoidale. So posteriorly, the region is called the jugum sphenoidale, and it has a cavity or a posterior ethmoidal sinus. And then on the lateral portion, the region between this frontoethmoidal suture and this lateral orbital suture, we have the frontal ethmoidal or the anterior ethmoidal canal. On the posterior side, we have the posterior ethmoidal canal. On the anterior side, we have the anterior ethmoidal canal. The major thing about the anterior ethmoidal canal is that it is going to lodge the anterior ethmoidal vessels and nerve. Then this whole apparatus, since it is related to the olfactory nerve, so it is going to lead into the nasal cavity. So if we look at it from the downward view, we can see that it is leading into the nasal cavity. So this whole region is leading into the nasal cavity. Whereas these orbital fissures, because the orbits are present on our eye, so they are going to lead into the eye. But just below this lesser wing of the sphenoid, we can also see a canal which leads into the orbit. Now the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, it has a posterior border, and the posterior border has lateral sulcus of the brain. Then medially it has the optic canal, and the upper boundary is having the superior orbital fissure. So what is going to happen over here? This is the posterior lesser wing of the sphenoidal bone. So lesser wing of the sphenoidal bone, anteriorly it has a superior orbital fissure, but on the medial side we can see this type of canal that leads into the eye. This is known as the optic canal. And on the posterior border, we will have the posterior sulcus of the brain. Then, now this orbital fissure, it is going to separate the anterior cranial fossa from the orbit and has frontal air sinuses in the orbital bone. Let me tell you. So now this is the orbital fissure or the upper boundary of the orbital canal, and you can see this orbital canal is going to separate your eyes from the anterior cranial fossa. So it is a boundary between your brain region or the anterior cranial fossa and your orbits or eyes, which you can see over here. So this all thing is the anterior cranial fossa. We talked about its boundaries, then its floor, then the contents it has, Then also you need to know that this frontal bone, it has a lot of sinuses. You can see over here these mini holes that you can see. I thought that the skull was actually ruptured or something when I was studying, but these are actually frontal layer sinuses, which are supposed to decrease the mass of your frontal bone. So this is all from my side relating to the anterior cranial fossa. One other thing that you need to know, that if for example this ethmoidal bone gets ruptured, it is going to leak the cerebrospinal fluid, that is the fluid of the brain, into this region, and you know this cribriform plate of the ethmoidal bone is going to lead into your nasal cavity, so that a white clear like fluid is going to repetitively incessantly come out of your ethmoidal region. That can be a diagnostic test for the damage to this region or the cribriform plate. Now you can see the cribriform plate in this skull is very much intact. And if there is any damage to the artery that is running over here, mainly the artery that passes through this optic canal over here, you can easily see this hole, the optic canal. And whenever the artery that is passing through the optic canal, it is ruptured, it will lead to blackening of the eye, because this optic canal is leading the artery into the orbit. So any damage to this artery will lead to blood clots in the eye or blackening of the eye, which is also a clinical correlate. So from this point of view, we are done with the anterior cranial fossa. In the next video, we will talk about this butterfly shaped fossa, that is the middle cranial fossa. Meet you in there. Also, one thing that was not mentioned in the book but I could find on the internet was that this lesser wing of the sphenoid that forming the anterior clinoid process, it is having attachment with the fold of the dura mater, and this fold of the dura mater is known as the tentorium cerebelli. So it has anterior extensions which are passing with to the anterior clinoid process. So your skull or the anterior cranial fossa is giving two attachments to the two folds of the dura mater. One fold is this, which is the tentorium cerebelli. The other fold was at the level of crista galli and the frontal crest, which was the falx cerebri, FALX, falx cerebri. With this, we are now done with the anterior cranial fossa from both the skull and from the diagrammatic view with the notes.